It is a gorgeous day. There are more motorcycles out, more riders out today than I have seen in a while. One of the things that I love about living in Northern California is that you get to ride pretty much year round. You know, it's going to rain for a week at a time sometimes, but because of the temperature, you know, the lowest it gets around here during the daytime is like the high 40s, mid 50s, and that's, I mean, you can get it out. You can ride it pretty much year round, and I love that about here. But yeah, seeing riders all over the place, bikes parked at little bars, little restaurants here. But yeah, actually, speaking of parking, oh, what a segue. Speaking of parking bikes, the parking on motorcycle is something that, you know, if you own a bike, something you got to do whenever you ride. And I, you know, instead of me saying what I feel about parking, I just kind of want to have this open discussion with you guys today. First of all, I'll tell you what I do. When I park my bike at home, I always back it into my spot in the garage. For me, it's one of those things where, like, when I want to go out and ride, I don't want to worry about backing my car out from the garage. You know, I've got a sloped driveway, so then you've got to think about, like, you know, that slope as you're backing out of the driveway. But again, this is an open discussion. What do you guys do when you park your bike at the garage? After a long ride, maybe you don't feel like backing a bike into its spot and you just want to pull in. And maybe you have a big enough garage where you can do all of that without having to like maneuver. We have 3 cars and 2 motorcycles, and pretty much only room for the bikes and 1 car in the garage. So it takes some teamwork to get the bike in the garage, backing it in when I'm done riding. But I'd love to get your guys' feedback. How do you guys park your bikes at home? Street parking. If you're parking your bike on the street, and not necessarily, you know, there's no parking here on this street, but if you're parking your bike where there are other cars parallel parked on the street, I have always been under the impression, under the best practices, that backing my back wheel to the curb, perpendicular to the curb at a 90-degree angle, basically, or slightly angled towards the way that you're going to end up leaving, really is kind of the way I do it, just slightly angled, is the way I park my motorcycle on street parking. Now, I've seen lots of motorcycles parked parallel with the cars. I've always been under the impression that that's the wrong way to do it. I've seen motorcycles that will park with their front tire perpendicular to the curb like I would, except parked that way. To me, that's like, why would you want to back out into traffic? That just seems even worse than parallel parking with the cars. What do you guys do? And I don't know that this is law, but I've always been under the impression that you should be parking your motorcycle with the back tire on the curb, either perpendicular or as perpendicular as you get. One of the I can talk about why I think that's the best reason why. You see a lot less of your bike if it's perpendicular with the cars. As you approach a bike from the back, it's just a matter of, like, when you're looking at a motorcycle, you see less of the bike. If the bike is completely perpendicular to the curb, you can see the entire bike. You can see it as cars are oncoming. It's kind of easy for a car, maybe, especially if they're going to come parallel park in the spot, for them to spot your bike late and maybe hit your motorcycle. And we'll talk about that here in a second also when it comes to parking in parking lots. But I've always been under the impression that is the best way to do it is to back your bike in, and there's the biggest reasons why are for it's really easy to leave, and you see almost your entire bike. Oncoming traffic sees your motorcycle. If you're riding a sport bike too, you know, we're talking about a really thin profile as far as seeing just the back of your motorcycle. A lot easier to miss. Now this is where probably I get the most comments. I've done a parking video. I'll leave a link in the video right here for you guys, probably in the description too. But I'll link to the video that I did on parking my motorcycle. A lot of people argued that when parking in a parking lot, you want to park as close to the front of the space. I'm going to pull into this parking lot right here and show you guys what I mean by that. But that they said you should park as close to the front of the space as possible, so that cars will see you that there's a bike in that parking spot. I think that there are definitely, that reasoning of other cars being able to see you in that spot is a good idea. But here's why I think it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea because with cars backing out of parking spaces, if you are parked, this is a bad example. Let me park where there's another parking space close by.
A few moments later.
I always think that if you can go straight through so that you can pull straight out of the parking space, that's the best practice. If I've got to back out of my parking space in a parking lot, I also think that's not an ideal situation. So if you can't park like this, right, where I can just pull through, I think that you should back into your spot, right, like so. This is not going to be the best job, but I'll do my best, right? Okay, yeah, so here's front of the space, okay? We'll actually just turn the bike off here for a second. We'll talk about it. So here I am at the front of the space. Oncoming traffic can see my bike most of the time. I think there's still going to be a time when cars are coming by, they're not going to see your bike because they're looking and thinking car. And if you're at the front of the space, it just leaves that much more of an opportunity for a car to just clip your bike. It doesn't take a whole lot for a car to tip your bike over or to damage your bike, and not total it, but definitely make it a salvage title. So let's say I'm deep in this parking space. Now the argument for people that I've heard, and this is how I park my bike in a parking lot. Car comes through, doesn't see your bike, starts to pull in. I don't think a whole lot of cars are speeding into a space like this, and again, you can argue with me on that, but they're going to see it, and then they have time to react because they're not going to be pulling in that fast. Are they going to be mad? Sure, but people are mad about motorcycles in parking spots all the time. That's just something that's going to happen. I think safer farther back, just for that reason of cars can see you last second. Also, and this is the bigger thing, is cars pulling out of these spaces over here. If you're parked at the front of the space, it's so easy to miss a bike in your rear view mirror, is to get clipped by cars pulling out of their space. The farther you are back, the more space you're giving yourself from the other cars parked in the parking lot. I think that's totally reasonable. They're arguments. We've had discussions online on that parking video where people are like, no, you've got to park forward, you've got to park back, agreeing with me, disagreeing with me. Make sure you leave it in the comments, front of space or back of a space. I am a supporter of the back of the parking lot space. Tell me what you think in the comments, because we love to have these discussions. We love to engage with the community. Parking is your motorcycle, again, like I said, is something you're going to do every time you go out, essentially. And so it's something that that stirs the mind and makes you guys think. And maybe you don't think about parking at all. But if you're watching this video, I think you probably care. So I love making videos like this. A lot of the times I will just tell you what I think is right. But this is definitely one of those times where I think that there are valid reasons for both. There are valid reasons for, I don't know what's happening there. There are valid reasons for you to park your bike certain ways on the street, and there's valid reasons for parking your bike a certain way in a parking lot. And another thing, I'm not here. Okay, while we're on the topic, before I shut this video down, why are you parking your bikes on sidewalks? Why are you parking your bikes in front of stores? Your bike is a vehicle. You wouldn't park your bike. You wouldn't park your car. And I'm getting yelled. If you've watched to this point, you might have contention with this as well. Don't park your bike in front of the store. Don't park your bike on the sidewalk. That's not where your bike belongs. Your bike is a vehicle. You need to park it like a vehicle. I will say, if I'm in a parking lot that's just jam-packed and I am just running in and out for something, I will park as inconspicuously in front of the store. If that means I've got to park somewhere that's not close to the entrance, that's what I'll do. My biggest thing about parking your bike on the sidewalk or in front of a store is our kids who are going to burn themselves on your exhaust, who are just curious, who hear your bike ticking, making that ticking sound because you've been riding it for a while, and they're curious. So yeah, I mean, that's my PSA for today. Don't park your bike in front of the store. Alright guys, that's all I've got for you today. If you enjoyed this video, liked it, found it entertaining, make sure you leave that thumbs up down there, which is the like button. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. Guys, if you're out there riding, please be safe. Be kind to one another. My name is Eric. I am that one guy. And I am out.